All right. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us for our second episode of Executive Edge, presented by Office of Executive Education at the University of Georgia, Terry College of Business. Executive Edge is a LinkedIn Live speaker series featuring discussions with corporate thought leaders and business school faculty, offering in-depth previews of our cutting-edge executive programs. My name is Jason Parrish, and I'm the Associate Director of Learning Solutions for the Terry College of Business Office of Executive Programs in Atlanta. I'll be hosting these LinkedIn Live sessions at noon on select Wednesdays throughout the year. So today we are going to discuss the Terry College of Business Fundamentals of Cloud Computing Program for Executives. This program is offered fully online. It's designed to give business leaders the tools and fundamental skills needed to successfully implement or upgrade cloud technology in their organizations. Joining me as our presenter today is the instructor for this program, our very own Dr. Craig Piercy. Dr. Piercy's primary roles at UGA Terry College of Business are as Director of the Master of Business Technology program and Senior Lecturer in the Department of Management Information Systems. His previous positions include Assistant Professor at Towson University, I think I said that right, Craig, and Process Improvement Engineer for textile manufacturer Milliken. His research interests include information technology, operations research and management science, web strategy and design consultancy, decision sciences, and information systems. To say the least, Dr. Piercy is a very busy man and well-versed for today's topic. Thanks for joining us today, Dr. Piercy. I'll hand it over to you from here, and then I'll pop back in for questions from the audience once you're done.
All right. Thanks, Jason, and welcome all. Let me take one moment to share a screen here, and then I will get started. Okay. So, as Jason mentioned, today's topic is cloud computing, and primarily we're introducing an online course that you could take through the Executive Edge at Terry College Executive Education Center. So, as Jason mentioned, I'm a senior lecturer in the Terry College of Business Department of Management Information Systems. I'm also the administrative director and an instructor in our online Master of Business and Technology program, which is a fully online master's program. And I'm not trying to sell you that here, but that also shows you that I do have some background in teaching fully online courses for about 5 years now. And so I'm trying to bring that to this new product that we're providing on continuing education. I've taught at all of the major levels of higher education, undergraduate. I'm about to start undergraduate classes next week and here in Athens, Georgia. Graduate programs, both online in Athens and at the Terry Executive Education Center with the PMBA class, and continuing ed, where I do a lot of stuff with things like Executive Education Center, but also in the credit union industry. Now, I also have some background in cloud computing. In fact, I've been for the last 2 or 3 years an Educate ambassador for Amazon Web Services, which part of that role is I get a lot of good resources to bring educational components to my classes that I teach, but also I'm supposed to kind of spread the word about AWS and cloud computing and bring that into curriculum, but mostly in the higher education realm. I'm also been past the first certification level, certified cloud practitioner, currently working on a couple other levels as well. I've also worked with the Online Learning Consortium, where I've been certified as an online instructor. Again, just to add a little bit of credential to this class as an online instructor, since it's a fully online course that I'm going to create here at the Terry Executive Education. I've been teaching cloud development. I've been teaching advanced topics with cloud, generally machine learning, blockchain, and cloud computing itself for our master's program. Now, why do I think that cloud is important for most executives and people in business to know today, and especially in the technical roles? Well, first, this is a a well-known hype cycle from a group called Gartner, and they generally put this out for all types of technologies and where they're at in their development. And this is the one for compute infrastructure from this past year. So it's one of the more recent ones. You'll notice up towards the end, there is cloud computing. And cloud computing has reached what we call the slope of enlightenment and on its way to the plateau of productivity. Whether or not you understand this chart or know this chart or not, this basically means that it's becoming a very mature technology and that people have adopted it and are continuing to adopt it. First movers have pretty much already adopted it, and most everybody else is playing catch up to adopt cloud as well. So this is an indication on this chart that cloud computing is probably been well received, well used, and is probably here to stay as it moves. It hasn't been lost in the trough of disillusionment, so to speak. You can also do just about any search you want for top tech skills that are needed. And here's just 3 results that I found. But if you just go Google for top tech skills in 2021 or something, you're going to find a list. And probably I'd be willing to bet that in terms of tech skills, cloud computing is in the top 10, and in most cases up around 2 and 3. So it's incumbent on just about every business professional to know at least what cloud computing is, and to some level or degree know a little bit about the technology behind it so they can make important decisions on adopting it and leading their teams. And then finally, job skills. This is a fairly recent listing of job openings by skill area from actually it's recent last year, but still fairly relevant. And I know current numbers are similar. And you can see that cloud technologies are very high demand for those skills in the job market. Again, do your own search, but I'm pretty confident you're going to find, and maybe the reason that you're here listening to this is because you already know that some of this is true. That cloud is hot right now and cloud skills are hot. Now, if you start to look at what cloud's offerings are out there for your organization or for organizations in general, this is another well-known chart from the Gartner think tank, and this is called the Magic Quadrant. The Magic Quadrant divides up the space of different companies into those that are leaders, challengers, more players, and the visionaries. And the idea is that the companies that are leaders have a higher completeness of vision and also the ability to execute. And you can see that Amazon Web Services is by far the leader. In fact, in terms of market share, the last I heard, it has about as much market share in the cloud space as the next 4 competitors. But then you got up and comers with Microsoft and Google, large companies and have pretty mature clouds, but still playing catch up to Amazon Web Services, followed by Alibaba from China, and then Oracle. And then there are some other players out there. In this chart does seem to include Tencent and IBM as well. All that to say is that cloud is out there. It's being used by lots of companies. There's space for multiple competitors. Now, of course, it also shows that Amazon Web Services is by far the clear leader. And that's relevant here because the cloud class that I'm producing for you is heavily involved with Amazon Web Services, partially because that's what I know best, and partially because that's the top one out there. But I like to teach it in a way that if you learn the basic fundamental concepts of cloud, that carries over to the others. The things that don't carry over is if, let's say, there's a lab that I have you do and it takes place in Amazon, the concepts would carry over, but exactly where you click on the screen may be different, of course, if you're working with Microsoft Azure or Google Cloud. Now, I also bring to the table for this program application development courses that I have taught in undergraduate, and then I have been and am currently still moving to add more cloud development. So I've been teaching cloud and added to that course for the last 2 years. Advanced topics in my Master of Business and Technology program, where I've been teaching and using cloud computing. A current professional MBA class that I'm actually going to Atlanta at the Executive Education Center on some weekends to teach, where we're doing a little bit of cloud in there and really showing the high level business aspects of cloud that I'm also bringing into this course. And then I'm doing cloud foundations and continuing education. So hopefully that shows you where I'm bringing some things to the table to add credibility of what I'm teaching. And I've had some experience in not only learning and knowing this topic as a subject matter expert, but also been trying to teach it for a while. Now, the course that we're going to be offering, I believe it's sometime in September when it's going to be starting, and we'll show you sign up information later, really covers these topics. And the idea is it covers them at a high level so that it should be approachable for anybody in business who has a need for cloud computing concepts. But also, we get a little bit into the technical weeds while you're here. But there's no prerequisite knowledge in terms of you having to know how to code Java, for example, or you need to be able to do SQL in a database. I may include some of those as examples, but there's no real knowledge you have to bring to the table other than normal computing use. If you can click on things to watch a webinar like this one, you could probably do this class. If you could find files on your machine that you can upload, you could do this class. So mostly bringing to the table prior technical knowledge is not necessarily required, just general use of a computer and also a desire to know about cloud computing and how it can impact your organization. So again, many of these topics are kind of at a high level. What is cloud? How do we secure the cloud, or the economics of the cloud? But then there are a few of those where we get a little bit into the weeds, so you can speak intelligently about how things work in the cloud and see firsthand how easy it is to do some things that in the past were much harder before a cloud existed. And we can revisit this slide if you have further questions later, but I'll just let you take a moment to look at that. Now, AWS, the leader in cloud computing, Amazon Web Services, also has certification path. And I know that many people out in the industry are interested in getting certified. So I wanted to also touch base on this just a little bit. This class will not get you certified, because to get certified, you have to take a test, and the test is not offered through this course. However, the content of this course, you can probably think of it, will get you 90% of the way towards the cloud practitioner certification. I hold that certification, and I'm working on gaining, and I'm about to get the developer certification as well. I finished studying for it and got to take the test. But I hold the cloud practitioner, and I've taught many of the foundations that are there. And this course will give you pretty much 90% of the content that you would need to study for the practitioner test to get certification. So if that's something you're interested in, note that this could be a valuable resource to help you get there. Now, the course that we're going to offer is fully online. So here's just a couple of screenshots. And if you're interested, I can show you more of the course itself. But the idea is it goes through what's called a learning management system that is offered by the University of Georgia. If you sign up for the course, you would get access to this learning management system. And in the course, you would be able to click through and get to different modules. For instance, the picture on the left of your screen here is module 1, which is the basic idea. And you can see in there are things to click on, like a checklist, objectives. And many of these are videos or readings that you'll do. The videos that I've made or readings that you'll do that will teach you the course concept and those type of things. There are, however, a couple of other interactive things later in this. This is just a screenshot, so I can't scroll it right now, but I can show you later if you're interested. There's a review quiz that I have. And again, you're not really graded and assessed to pass a class here, but that helps solidify it, highlights certain important things you ought to know and helps you learn those things so that if you're not quite clear on one, you can go back and review the material and learn it better. There's also hands-on labs. Notice one is in the check marks here is listed, and the other picture is a screenshot of the start of that lab. And those are actually things that I've set up that kind of walk you through, where you read instructions and you actually try that using the free tier of Amazon Web Services. And so this just happens to be one that is going to walk you through how do you sign up and get access to the free tier. But in later modules, for instance, when I tell you about compute services, I have a hands-on lab where we actually can set up an EC2 server, and I walk you through that, or using something called Elastic Beanstalk. So actually we have very basic hands-on tutorials that you can actually get hands-on experience using Amazon Web Services through this course, get a basic idea of how it works. Again, all of that is offered through a browser. So if you can click on things and you can read and follow directions, you can do this course without any prior knowledge of computer programs and developing software. The format also is completely online and asynchronous, meaning it's going to be offered through our learning management system, and you can sign up and you can work at somewhat of your own pace. It's scheduled to be offered for about 10 weeks, and it's roughly about 10 modules to do that. But if you want to work with it faster and get done in 5, you can. If you want to take the full 10 weeks and go slower, if you want to do 2 weeks really fast and then take a break for 4 or 5 weeks and then do the last 3 or 4 really fast, that's doable. Now, in terms of access to me, in addition to it being asynchronous, where you can work at your own pace, I will generally, during the course time, be available through email for you to ask questions. And there's an email facility through the learning management system. Plus, you can also just access my regular UGA email. But also, I tend to have, sometimes as needed, but also just occasional live sessions where we can do pretty much a Zoom call, and anybody who's interested, not required to complete the course, but if you're interested, want to network with me and some of the other people who are taking the course, or just have some questions and you want to pop in and ask one, we'll have periodic, probably at a minimum every other week, so probably about 4 or 5 live sessions, but maybe more depending on demand. And those will just be as we go, and I'll work with whoever's signed up to figure out a good evening to schedule those. So you won't be just doing it on your own. You'll have access to me as an instructor to help you and answer your questions, and definitely through email asynchronously and through a few live sessions during the course as you take it. So just wanted to say 1 or 2 more other things. If you have further questions, we're going to give a few more minutes here. We got about 10 more minutes at least of this webinar and thing for you to ask questions live if you want. But I wanted to make sure you had my contact information in case you get offline and think of something that you want to ask. Also, if this sounds interesting to you, this is the URL for where you can go to sign up for this course. Let me escape out of there, and I'm going to take you to that web page. You see here on the web page, you can find it, and you can look for different programs. I didn't do this earlier, but I'm sure the program finder is one way you can look through and find that. Yeah, you scroll down and there it is. And you can find the page for it and sign up if you like. A little bit different facial hair I had at the time of that photo, but still, might have been a year or 2 younger when that was taken as well. But that's where you can go to sign up and register. And you can also check more information about the course. So that's my slides, and that's where you have that. This time, Jason, I think we can just open it up to any questions if there's anything.
Awesome. Thanks, Dr. Pearson. That's great information. And I did drop the link to the site into the chat as well, if anybody wants to link directly there. Our next class, as mentioned, as you can see here, starts on September 8th. They roughly run about 10 weeks, I believe, Dr. Piercy. And while we wait to see if we get any questions from the audience, just a couple of things. Who would you, in your opinion, consider the target audience for this course, or who do you think could maybe best benefit? What kind of students would you expect?
Definitely. So I kind of designed this with certain people in mind, and mostly it's people in business who understand that there's a need for cloud computing, but aren't quite sure what it is and why they need it. And that could be people from multiple different roles. As I've mentioned a few times, I've not really designed this particular course for people who are really highly technical, although it does get into some of the tech, a good start, even for those people, if they're interested in that first certification for AWS. So I'd say one subset of people are those people who are interested in that first certification, whether they're technical or not. But then another set of people that I'm trying to keep it to a level that doesn't require a huge technology background. So for those people who kind of either want to move into that area, more technology, or just want to understand cloud computing at a high business level of what are the benefits, what are the advantages, what are the costs and risks involved with cloud computing, I want to reach those people and show them why most everybody in the world's moving to it, but what you have to keep in mind for when you do move there, and what you're giving up to do that. So
that's great. So I think it's a good point to make too, that you don't necessarily have to come in with a very strong working knowledge of what cloud computing is. That's kind of the point, right? So that's helpful too. There may be some folks out there like myself that don't know a lot about it, so could probably benefit from taking this course.
I look forward to seeing you in it in September.
I might be. Actually, and do you have any idea, a rough estimate, sort of the time it would take to go through the course?
Yeah, there's about 10 modules. So,
Okay.
and I planned it out to have, like, I was told it'd be a roughly 10 weeks. So I'm creating 10 modules. And so if it's 11 weeks or 9, that really won't be a big difference, because each module, I would say, is probably roughly 3 to 4 hours of content to watch, consume, and to actually do. And again, there's some things that you would actually read and watch first, but there's also interactive things that you can try in Amazon Web Services, because I'm a big believer that you have to learn by doing somewhat, and just listening to me may get you part of the way there of learning things, but you also got to do it yourself. And that's especially true with technology and working with technology. So I would say roughly 3 to 4 hours for most people. A few people may take it a little slower, some may be a little faster. So that's my best estimate.
Okay.
Per week. Per week. Yeah.
Per week. Okay. Got it. All right. Well, I don't see anything else from the audience at the moment. We will, again, this is recorded. This will remain posted on our site, and the chat will remain live as well. So, if questions come in after the fact, folks that are watching this, you can still drop them right into the chat, and we'll get back to you, or connect you with Dr. Piercy as well. Do you have any closing comments, Dr. Piercy? If not, I can round us out here and give us some information about the next program. And
just one more thing. I think I did put my UGA email on that one slide, but I neglected to mention that I'm actually also on LinkedIn. So if you want to connect me there, since this is going through LinkedIn, you can just search for me and either make a connection with me. Be sure to tell me how you're making the connection, because I don't necessarily connect with everybody who asks. But if you say you saw me on this webinar, I'll be happy to connect with you. Or if you just want to ask me a question about this there, that'll work as well.
That's awesome. Yes, thank you very much. So just to close us out, so our next class, as you guys can see, it starts September 8th. They do run roughly about 10 weeks, so it'll go through November 19th. Again, it's online, self-paced, so it's very flexible. The details, again, the registration details, is at terry.uga.edu/executive. And I did post that in the chat as well, so you can link directly to it. Or you can also reach out to Dr. Piercy or myself right here on LinkedIn. So, just let us know or drop something into the chat. We'll keep that going. So that'll close up today's discussion. For next week, I'm going to be, or next Wednesday, August 18th at noon, we're going to be discussing digital transformation, and that will feature UGA's Professor Dr. Rick Watson, and Brian Mize, who's the president of Ag Victorium Solutions here in Atlanta. So that's going to be a bit more of a conversation or interview, if you will, next week. So be sure to tune in. And of course, follow us on LinkedIn if you want to see more of these. And I'm sure we'll have Dr. Piercy back in the future and some other topics for you. So definitely, continue to follow us there. And with that, I'll say goodbye to everybody. Be safe, and thank you for joining us today.